2025 is almost over, and this year for video games has been really good, but let's remember some of the games that we might have forgotten that released very early on in the early months of January, February, and March for video games. Maybe they're on your wish list, or maybe they are on your to play list you bought on sale a while ago during the summer sales of Steam or something like that, and you just forgot you owned them. So let me remind you of these games. My name is the Techno Jelly. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I really appreciate it if you do. It supports the channel itself and helps me a lot. I do videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so if you like to check out the channel at any of those days, there should be something new on the channel. Starting with the first game, that is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, specifically for PC, came out in January 23rd, 2025. Now, if you already have played it, because it did come out on 2024 for PlayStation only, but the Windows version is good and pretty fun to play. I've seen a lot of people playing it, and you know, if you enjoy the Final Fantasy VII remake style, you'll definitely enjoy this one. I've heard a lot of people really enjoyed this game. Obviously, I'm not going to be spoiling any stories if they are story-based games, so you don't have to worry about that. But it is a continuation of the remake style of Final Fantasy VII. And from what I can tell, everyone really enjoyed it in terms of the beat-to-beats of the new story, or kind of new story plus, I guess I should say, with how the remake slash remaster is going with Final Fantasy VII. I personally have not played these games, but they are definitely for me on the wish list of playing one day. I want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth one day. I'm probably going to wait until all three games are out, because I think it's going to be a trilogy of games, if I remember correctly. So I really hope to play these one day. Hopefully I can remind you that, yeah, these games do exist on PC. Rebirth specifically even won a Game of the Year, so people really loved this game. And it reviewed pretty well as well, and it runs pretty well too, which is a really good thing to say, because nowadays good games don't necessarily run well, but it did seem to sell and review pretty well. Pretty much 9 out of 5s, or 9 out of 5s, 9 out of 10s, and 4 out of 5s, pretty much everywhere. The lowest I saw personally was an 8 out of 10 on GameSpot. And though, to be fair, GameSpot sometimes are kind of haters. I don't know why. But yeah, so just remember that this game, it came out this year, which is hilarious, on PC. Moving on to a game that, once again, was already out, but now is on even more platforms. Party Animals came out January 23rd, 2025 for PlayStation 5, finally. It wasn't on PlayStation at all. It didn't have it for 2 years. And now finally it is out for PlayStation 5. So if you ever wanted to have a good old party game fun, I would highly recommend Party Animals. It's a pretty fun game. I've seen people play it. It looks really fun. I personally don't generally play these types of games because my friend group just don't really play these types of games. But if you are in that style of friend group, then I would highly recommend. Though this is a game you need to play with friends. And luckily, there is lots of footage for you guys to look at, because the game's been out for other platforms for a little bit too. So coming out on 2025 for the PlayStation 5 is good. And the PlayStation 5 does have a lot of people playing as well. So that is a good thing to see. Has many different maps and modes now as well, with a bunch of content added during the years. So it's really good to see. Now you're going to have to understand when I say this next game that I'm talking completely in seriousness. On the Nintendo Switch and Microsoft Windows platforms, in January 30, 2025, Hello Kitty Island Adventure came out. It was originally a Apple Arcade game in 2023. Now, I understand it's a Hello Kitty game, but you have to understand that this game is actually really good. And it is one of those strange games where, yes, it is Hello Kitty, but if you don't care about Hello Kitty, but want a game that's similar to something like Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, or those cozy style of games, this is a game that is literally made for you. You could play it in co-op too, which is really good. And it is really good that it finally came out for actual platforms other than Apple Arcade, because this game was basically in prison in Apple Arcade because it was such a really good game. It wasn't a terrible mobile game or anything like that, because people think of iOS or Mac gaming and they don't really have very high standards. But this is just a legit game that was made for the Apple Arcade, and it is a really good game for people who enjoy that style of game. Now, obviously, if you're a person who doesn't enjoy the Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon, cozy game, this game probably won't change your mind, because it is basically just that game, but with Hello Kitty and some other cool, interesting things with itself. But overall, it is that style of game. It does have puzzles and quests and stuff like that, but it is still a very cozy game. So you're not going to be going into like combat or anything like that. There's no crazy RPG combat mechanics and stuff like that, though it is, once again, completely playable in co-op from what I can tell. So it is a super interesting game to see, and really funny that is originally an Apple Arcade game, but now that's fully on PC, it got a bunch of more people to play it, and everyone's like, yeah, this game is actually legit. Don't get swayed or judge it because it's a Hello Kitty game. It is a kid's game, sure, but it is still a really good video game if you enjoy that type of game. Now, moving on to February, we're going to go on to a game that fully came out in 2025, and it was not a port or anything like that, though it is a sequel. And if it wasn't for the fact that games like Expeditions 33 or Arc Raiders or Peak or something like that came out this year as well, I feel like this game would 100% win Game of the Year for a lot of people, especially the hardcore RPG fans. Kingdom Come Deliverance came out in February 4th, 2025 this year, which surprised me when I was doing research for this video, because I swear this game came out last year. But no, it came out in 2025. And funny enough, DLC actually came out relatively recently this year as well, about a month ago, if I remember correctly. So Kingdom Come 2, if you didn't know, is a sequel to Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. It is a continuation of Henry's story. And by continuation, I mean literally like the second game starts a couple hours after the first game, if I remember correctly. I personally haven't finished the first game. I have played the first game. And the first game, while really fun, is one of those games where you do have to handle certain amount of not kickstarted RPG jankness, because it is a kickstarted game. It is a good kickstarted game, but you know, they aren't a huge studio with millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. So there is that. Also, the combat is something you definitely have to look into if you're looking to purchase Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, if you want to play the first one, or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The combat is relatively similar, but they did improve on the combat, but they didn't change the combat. So if you don't like the combat of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, the second sequel is not going to change your mind, most likely, because it doubled down on the strengths of the combat, but it is still slightly a weird system, and you definitely have to get used to it. It's not like a Mountain Blade where it's like the 4 directions and 4 blocking things. It is definitely slightly more in depth than that, and it really works in 1v1s, but against multiple opponents, it fails really hard. Not fails really hard, I think that's a little harsh, but it definitely shows its weaknesses in the first game. In the sequel, they do things to try to make it better, but they're not changing the overall combat system. It's still that same combat system. And also, you are still Henry. So if you didn't like the concept of being a blank slate, because Henry is not a blank slate. You can have different versions of Henry, but you are still Henry. So you are not a blank slate in this RPG, not medieval fantasy, just medieval RPG. You are still Henry. And if you are a medieval fantasy, this game is not fantasy. This is a realistic medieval open world RPG, with realistic with an asterisk of you can still save, and like you don't die when you get stabbed, and you don't get infected and die of dysentery, because that's how a lot of people died in the early medieval times. So obviously it's unrealistic in terms of, you know, some things, but it is not a fantasy game. You know, there are potions, I guess, there are alchemists, but that did exist at the time. The difference is it works in the game, and it wouldn't necessarily work in actuality, depending on your point of view. And you even have the post-release content that they've added over this year, which is really crazy to me to say, because the reason I thought this game was released last year is because there's literally already a DLC, a paid DLC that they released for this game. In fact, 3 DLCs that were released, and all 3 of them, for the most part, have been pretty well received overall. And even without the paid DLC, they still did release free updates like a better barber feature, a hardcore mode, which I can't believe they need a hardcore mode in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, because the game's already very hardcore. Like, playing this game normally, you already kind of are playing a hardcore game. Like, this is a hardcore RPG for hardcore RPG fans. Like, this is not a casual RPG. I would not recommend this to people who don't enjoy RPGs. Like some RPGs, like maybe you can win people over with like with for instance the Final Fantasy VII remakes. People who don't generally enjoy RPGs might enjoy those remakes, even if they aren't a hard big fan of RPGs. But I would never recommend Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 to someone who doesn't know what they're getting into. Because if you don't like realistic medieval worlds and you don't like RPGs, you are not going to like this game. This game puts itself forward very blatantly. And that's what the game is. There is no secret fantasy dragons. It is a medieval RPG. Still in February, the next game we're going to talk about is going to be a little divisive one, because Civilization 7, Sid Meier Civilization 7, came out in February 11th, 2025. And I'm going to be honest with everyone. I didn't like Civilization 7, but that's just because I didn't like it. Doesn't mean you might not like it, because I didn't enjoy the changes they did to the formula of where you're not really picking a civilization, you're picking a person and you build your own civilization, which is a cool idea, but I don't play these games to make my own civ. I want to reimagine or relive their own civilizations. And while I don't think it was necessarily poorly executed, I personally didn't really enjoy that. And I feel like some people do enjoy the game. There's a lot of people who really love the game. The problem is that I feel like it's very divisive. It's either you enjoy this one or you don't like it. There's no like in between. There's no people who think it's okay. There are many people who dislike it, but I don't think that should mean that you should obviously dislike it, because people didn't like Civ 5 when it first came out. People hated Civ 5 when it first came out, and then people really enjoyed it after they got into the weeds of it. Same with Civ 6, I feel like every big game like this, people don't like it at first, and then the people who just tried to play every single one go back to the one they enjoy, and the people who do kind of enjoy it continue playing it and then like play it to its strengths. And it is still a Civilization game, so like if you enjoy that style of game, this might be the game for you. But it did change a lot of things, which I do actually appreciate them. I appreciate them trying new things every single time. And just because I don't like them every single time, I still prefer them trying new things rather than just making the same game over and over again. Like, it's different from I feel like it is similar to people complaining about Call of Duty. Everyone says the game is the same thing every time, and then when they actually try to do something different, people don't like it. Same with Civ. The difference is I feel like they've always tried different things. A lot of people from every single Civ game, like from Civ 4 and onwards, they've tried different things. Because like from Civ 1 to 3, the technology was changing a lot. So I can understand like the engines and the technology were very different. So more things were possible. But after Civ 4, it feels more like it's not really about the technology. It's more about their inherent mechanics and systems that they're changing. Though I didn't really like the graphic style of Civ 6. I do still prefer the more realistic graphics of Civ 5. And I feel like I also didn't give Civ 6 enough of a chance, and maybe one day I will play enough of it, though to say I still have tens of hours in Civ 6. It's just that I feel like I was too hesitant to enjoy it. Maybe the same thing is for Civ 7. Maybe one day I need to go back and really play Civ 7 to test it out. Maybe after a full year on its release, because the game has been patched multiple times, Civ 7, to fix things or change things to make better things easier to look at. One of the biggest weaknesses, though, in my opinion, for Civ 7 is the UI looks bad. It just looks like its default UI. I feel like this is a UI that doesn't have any personality, and I kind of don't like that. The Civ UI have always been really interesting. It's always been very Civ-like, which is a really bad way to describe it, I understand. But all the Civ UIs have felt like it's been for Civ, like it was made for this type of game. The Civ 7 one felt generic, and it felt kind of placeholder. Functional, I will do say. It felt very functional, so like it wasn't like it was buggy, but it didn't feel like it was the final product for the UI, at least. So maybe, hopefully, they've changed that eventually, or at least upgraded it in some way, give it a little bit more personality other than looking like it's a default engine setting. But overall, I still think it's a really fun game, and I still would say that you should look at it. I understand that people are going to be a little bit more cautious when it comes to this game because, once again, they did change a lot. So it can come from a different point of view, but I would encourage you to at least look at it because, hey, Civ is still a really fun game. And even so, even if they did change a bunch, I still think it's worthy of looking at if you enjoy the 4X turn-based strategy games. And for the final game in February to look at, for the final game to look at, we're going to March the 6th, 2025. We are going to look at Split Fiction, which is the it is the next game from EA in their cooperative game series, I guess. While they're not directly sequels, it is a type of game that they've been making because the last one they made was It Takes Two. So it is kind of like their style of game, and It Takes Two is an amazing game. And Split Fiction, I would say, is also an amazing game. And it also is very generous because I think only one person has to buy it in order to actually both of you play it, which is insanely generous considering how it's a co-op game. So you usually have to, both own it. But for these people, no. You can just buy it once and you can play it with someone. Also, it's published by EA, and to say good things about EA makes me feel weird, but it is published by EA. It's not made by EA, it's made by Hazel Light Studios. And they've been doing this for a while because their very first game, A Way Out, in 2018, is a good game, but definitely shows its weaknesses sometimes, but it's still a really good game. And all three of their games are pretty good. But I think Split Fiction, in my opinion, from what I can say over all three of these games, is the best one for gameplay. The story in Split Fiction, no spoilers once again, I do think is good, but definitely not as intriguing maybe as something like It Takes Two, because It Takes Two's story was so good. It was really good. I mean, it literally won awards. So while Split Fiction is still really good, I do think the gameplay side of it has been vastly improved, and playing the game is a lot more fun. Though It Takes Two was very fun to play. I'm not trying to say that it wasn't fun, but it is a more gameplay focused game, and you can tell that the team did focus on the gameplay stuff a little bit more because the writing team was already good. Like, the writing team can do that, but having so many different things to do for the gameplay stuff in this game is amazing. And I do think I want these games to continue happening because they're such a unique style of game, and I really hope it continues going. And unfortunately, it's owned by EA. So that's always a really cautious tale because at any point they could just pull the plug, and it really feels bad if they do. So hopefully they don't. And I really hope that they keep going because these games are really good. And I hope they keep going. I hope in a couple years I can talk about the next game that they made. But that is all the recommendations for games coming out earlier this year. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed some of your favorites. I'd love to know. Obviously, I can't know every single game that released while looking at all the lists that I saw. These are the ones that came out to me that I was personally interested in and think I would personally recommend people to try if they were into games. Let me know what you guys think about that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done. I do videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe and check out the channel during those times. If you liked the video, please like it. If you disliked it, please dislike it. I completely understand. It helps me with feedback whether people like these types of videos or not. If you'd like to support me directly, please go over to my Patreon at patreon.com/thetechnojelly. You get into these credits. All of these nice people support me as well. You also get a once a month live stream on Patreon as well, exclusively, and you get to vote on what happens during it, what we play, and you get to hang out with me. If you'd like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. Thank you everyone for watching today's video, and I'll see you on Friday. Goodbye, everyone.